Usually when you see an electric guitar just sitting on a stand in the corner of a room, it's incredibly easy to just see it as, well, an object.
Right, just a thing.
Yeah, like a hollow wooden box, a neck, some metal frets, and, 6 strings stretched across it. It's basically furniture until someone actually picks it up.
A piece of decoration, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we have this really incredible source material today. It's an October 2025 column from Monumental Movement Records, or MMR, and it just completely shatters that passive image.
Oh, totally.
It argues that this wooden box is actually and this is a quote, a recording device of the body. And honestly, that concept is the core mission for our deep dive today.
It's such a heavy phrase, right? A recording device of the body.
It really is. So
Yeah.
we are throwing out the idea that a guitar is just an instrument. We're exploring it as this completely unfiltered extension of the human spirit. The idea that when a player touches those strings, it directly translates their cultural background, their immediate mental state, and their literal biology into sound waves.
It's a profound shift in perspective, for sure. I mean, think about it not as an instrument you play, but as a machine that takes your pulse.
Oh, I like that. Takes your pulse.
Right. And whether you are, a massive music history buff parsing through old vinyl, or if you're just someone who casually listens to a playlist while working, understanding this physical connection completely changes how you hear the music you love.
It really does.
You actually start hearing the literal blood and sweat behind the strings.
So to really see how that works in practice, we kind of have to look at the foundation first. The MMR column points us to the Western mainstream to understand how the electric guitar first became this ultimate tool of, well, emotional and social expression.
And you really can't talk about that blueprint without talking about Chuck Berry in the 1950s.
Definitely not.
But it's not just that he played catchy songs, it's the literal physical mechanics of what his hands were doing. He was basically building the skeleton of rock and roll.
Right, because before him, the guitar was just sort of a background voice in a big band, right?
Exactly, just strumming along. But Berry treated it like a complete locomotive engine. If you actually watch his technique, his hands are functioning as two totally distinct machines.
It's wild to watch.
It is. His right hand is focused entirely on the rhythm. He's using this aggressive, rhythmic strumming, often muting the strings slightly with his palm, to create this relentless, driving dance beat that honestly rivals a snare drum.
While his left hand is essentially singing.
Yes.
Like he's sliding up and down the neck, carrying these intricate blues-derived vocal melodies. He's embodying the entire rhythm section and the lead singer at the exact same time.
Which fundamentally changed what the instrument represented in the culture. Because of that driving dual-engine approach, the guitar was suddenly loud, fast, and completely self-sufficient.
It didn't need a whole orchestra anymore.
Exactly. It became the literal voice of youthful rebellion and freedom. It basically demanded that you physically move your body.
Okay, let's unpack this. So if Chuck Berry built the engine of a car, Jimi Hendrix turned that car into a spaceship, and by the time we get to Sonic Youth and Glen Branca, the guitar isn't even a vehicle anymore. It's the entire atmosphere.
That is a perfect way to put it. Hendrix, in the 60s, basically realized that the engine didn't just have to drive on a road, it could explode.
He took the guitar from being this rhythmic accompaniment and forced it to be the absolute center of expression. And he did it primarily by, breaking all the rules of what an amplifier was even supposed to do.
He essentially weaponized the physics of sound. I mean, before Hendrix, audio engineers spent their entire careers trying to eliminate feedback.
Right, that awful squealing sound.
Yeah, that ear-piercing squeal you get when a guitar pickup gets too close to the speaker it's plugged into. The sound wave leaves the speaker, hits the guitar, goes back through the cable to the speaker, and creates this infinite screaming loop.
And Hendrix leaned directly into that loop. Like he would stand inches from his massive amplifiers, literally physically wrestling with the guitar to control that squealing.
He figured out how to ride that wave. He made the guitar sound like it was crying or, dropping bombs.
And then you add his use of early effects pedals on top of that.
Oh, the wah-wah pedal. It mechanically filters the frequencies of the sound up and down when you rock your foot back and forth on it. He used it to make the guitar literally mimic human vowel sounds. He made the instrument actually speak.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
But then at the exact same time, you have Lou Reed with the Velvet Underground using noise in a totally different way.
Very different.
He wasn't looking at the cosmos like Hendrix. He was looking at the gutter. He used these incredibly primitive, repetitive chord progressions mixed with harsh, dissonant sounds.
Notes that intentionally clash.
Right, notes that make you feel physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He used them to capture the gritty, provocative reality of the street.
Both of them were proving that the wooden box didn't have to play pretty melodies to be valid. The raw tone itself was the message. And as we move into the 70s and 80s, the West saw this massive spatial expansion. The guitar stopped being a single voice and started painting these massive architectural structures.
Like progressive rock.
Exactly. You look at prog rock players like Robert Fripp of King Crimson, and he's layering these impossibly complex interlocking rhythms. He's literally building skyscrapers out of sound.
Wait, earlier the source material mentioned alternate tunings becoming huge during this era, specifically with bands like Sonic Youth.
Oh, yeah?
If standard tuning is the established rule book for how to build those architectural chords, what happens when you just, I don't know, rewrite the rules?
Well, it completely destroys your muscle memory.
Really? Just entirely?
Totally. If you pick up a guitar and turn the tuning tags randomly, everything you've ever learned about where to put your fingers is suddenly completely useless. A standard chord shape will just sound like a chaotic mess. Thurston Moore and Lee Ronaldo of Sonic Youth did this intentionally. They forced themselves into a space of pure discovery. They even shoved, like, drumsticks and screwdrivers under the strings to create this metallic, unpredictable rattling. They were capturing pure chance.
Shoving screwdrivers under the strings, that's so wild. Which I guess naturally brings us to the whole shoegaze movement, and specifically Kevin Shields of My Bloody Valentine.
Yes, his famous wall of sound.
Right. And the mechanics of this are just so fascinating because he essentially created a completely new physical technique to convey emotion. He would strum the guitar while constantly holding onto the tremolo bar.
And for anyone unfamiliar, the tremolo bar, sometimes people call it a whammy bar, is this metal arm attached to the bridge where the strings are anchored.
Right.
When you push it, it physically slacks the tension of all the strings at once, which bends the pitch downward.
So Shields is constantly pushing and pulling this bar while aggressively strumming through just a mountain of distortion.
A literal mountain.
And the result is that the individual notes completely blur together. It sounds like a watercolor painting left out in a thunderstorm. It's this relentless, swirling volume where the pure audio texture becomes the emotion. You aren't listening to a melody, you are standing inside a weather system.
Oh, Godspeed you. Black Emperor took that exact same immersive density and stretched it into these 20-minute cinematic epics. They used the guitar as an epic poetry tool to paint these massive, sweeping social landscapes.
So the overarching theme of the West was using the guitar to look outward, right? To build these towering external atmospheres.
Definitely.
So if the West was busy building these massive, soaring cathedrals of sound that look outward, what happens when a culture decides to look inward?
That is the big shift.
Because across the world in Japan, guitarists weren't trying to build cathedrals. They were digging basements. The MMR column dives deep into the Japanese divergence, and things get intensely psychological.
We should briefly acknowledge, though, that Japan had its own foundational electric boom first.
Oh, of course.
Pioneers like Takeshi Torochi brought incredible technical skill and, sheer entertainment to the post-war masses. And later, Shar flawlessly translated the emotional feel of American blues into the Japanese musical vocabulary.
But the massive philosophical shift really happens later, right?
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s underground scene.
And the tone of that underground was remarkably dark. The source highlights Takashi Mizutani of Les Raleses d'Unides. He was creating what they call decadent noise.
Decadent noise, yeah.
And when you listen to it, it doesn't sound like the polished distortion of a rock radio hit. It sounds like a rusted metal grinder. It sounds like heavy, dangerous static that just completely envelops the room.
It was a total, absolute rejection of pristine commercial sound. And then you have Seiichi Yamamoto, who is known for his work in Boredoms and Omoid Hatoba.
Right.
He took that harsh, dangerous noise and balanced it with these deep, inward-looking melodies. He proved that violent, ritualistic disruption and delicate emotion could actually coexist in the exact same breath.
He was tapping directly into the unconscious mind of Japanese rock.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, but also a bit challenging.
Okay.
How do we draw the line between a destructive tone and just, well, noise? The source points to Keiji Haino as the ultimate realization of this philosophy, the guitar, as a recording device of the body.
Yes, absolutely.
But Haino is famous for these hours-long improvisations where he is just screaming, using whistles, and manipulating extreme, punishing volume from his amplifier. To a lot of people, that just sounds like pure noise.
Sure, it can be jarring.
Is Haino using noise the same way a painter might throw a bucket of black paint on a canvas to express grief? How is throwing a temper tantrum with an amplifier considered complex emotional expression?
What's fascinating here is that your skepticism is totally natural, but you've actually hit on the exact core of the Japanese underground philosophy.
Oh, really?
Yes. To them, the distinction between tone and noise completely ceases to exist. Clean, standard musical notes, like, say, an A major chord, are completely insufficient to convey the sheer turbulence of human grief or rage or pure existential dread.
So a clean chord is just too polite for what he's feeling.
Exactly. It's way too polite. Haino isn't making noise just to be annoying. He is treating the guitar as a literal, unfiltered extension of his central nervous system.
Oh, okay.
When he performs, it's a physical endurance test. He plays the guitar, uses his voice, and manipulates his entire body simultaneously. He forces his body to the absolute brink of exhaustion, and whatever internal chaos he is feeling bleeds directly into the pickups and out of the speaker as an agonizing scream.
The noise is the medium.
The noise is the medium, and that explains his legendary collaborations with pure noise artist Merzbow.
Right, the article mentioned Merzbow.
Merzbow pursues the absolute pure form of noise using electronics and overloaded signals. When he and Haino collaborate, it's not a musical performance in the traditional sense at all. It's a dialogue of raw physical output. They completely bypass musical structure to communicate pure cathartic energy.
But that energy doesn't just stay as pure chaos forever, because as we move into the Japanese post-rock poetry of the 90s and 2000s, that noise gets shaped.
It does.
The artists take the sheer volume and texture pioneered by people like Haino, but they aim it toward entirely different emotions.
It becomes incredibly structured. You look at a band like Mono, for instance. They utilize these painfully slow-building guitar arpeggios.
And an arpeggio being when you play the individual notes of a chord one by one, rather than just strumming them all at once.
Yes, and they will pick these individual notes, letting them ring out and stack on top of each other through delay pedals, slowly building these massive walls of sound over 10 or 15 minutes.
It's beautiful.
The source describes them as drawing light and prayer with their instruments. They are using the exact same tools of noise to create sweeping melancholy and hope.
Or Toe, a band that brings this hyper-intricate math-like precision to the guitar. They play these incredibly complex, shifting rhythms, but somehow it never feels cold or calculated. They balance that math with intense, driving feeling.
And then there's Boris.
Oh, Boris is amazing.
They take all of it, the drone, the noise, the melody, and fuse it into this colossal, roaring, heavy wall of sound that has gained them massive international acclaim. It's a very clear lineage.
Right.
The ritualistic noise of the 80s underground laid the foundation for the atmospheric, structured poetry of the modern era. The physical body was still recording itself, just in a completely different emotional register.
Which brings us crashing into the present. The modern synthesis.
Here we go.
We've looked at the historical extremes of the West, building these massive spaceships of sound, and Japan digging deep into the raw, noisy depths of the human nervous system. So, how do these worlds collide in our current era, the 2010s and 2020s?
They collide head-on with digital technology.
Right.
The modern era forces us to completely redefine what the instrument even is once again. The MMR column uses one of the most brilliant phrases I've ever heard to describe this pedal boards as ego design.
That concept alone is worth the price of admission. We touched on pedals briefly with Hendrix's wah-wah, but the modern pedal board is an entirely different beast. Let's really unpack the psychology of this.
Well, if you look down at a modern guitarist's feet, you won't just see one or two pedals anymore. You'll often see a massive board covered in 10, 15, or 20 different electronic boxes.
It looks like a spaceship control panel.
It really does. Delays, reverbs, glitches, fuzzes. In the past, a pedal was just a tool to get a slightly different sound for a quick guitar solo. Today, it is a literal extension of the player's personality.
It's curating your own sonic identity. Like, a player might deliberately spend $300 on a boutique fuzz pedal that is literally engineered to sound like a dying battery or a broken radio.
Exactly.
And why? Because that degraded, struggling lo-fi sound represents something internal to them. It matches their introversion or their anxiety or just their aesthetic exhaustion.
The clean signal from the wooden box just isn't enough anymore. They need to filter it through layers of circuitry that represent their specific neuroses and preferences. They are literally designing their ego in physical form on the floor in front of them.
And then you add loops and DAWs, digital audio workstations, to that ego design. The article refers to these technologies as extended finger memory.
Extended finger memory. Think of looping like setting up a house of mirrors for sound. A single player on a stage can play a short melody, hit a pedal to record it, and the computer instantly plays it back on repeat.
Like magic.
Right. Then the player can play a bass line over that, loop it, add a percussive beat by literally slapping the guitar body, and loop that. Suddenly, one single person has become an entire orchestra.
You are literally playing a duet with a ghost of yourself from 5 seconds ago.
The computer remembers what your fingers just did, completely freeing your conscious mind to react to your own past performance in real time. It fundamentally changes the physical limits of composition.
And because of these expanded limits, you see this beautiful cross-pollination happening. Modern artists are blending all the histories we've talked about.
Oh, absolutely.
You have Mary Halvorson taking the complex jazz improvisation of the past and feeding it through modern pitch-shifting pedals to create this wobbly, abstract expression.
Or Yves Tumor.
Yes.
Yves Tumor uses the guitar less as a traditional instrument and more as a chaotic, synthetic sound effect, aggressively blurring the lines between pure noise, pop music, and performance art.
Even on the acoustic side, the vocabulary has just exploded. Artists like Ichiko Aoba in Japan use the guitar to craft these incredibly delicate, dreamlike folktales.
Or Tevito Nanao, who merges the instrument with poignant modern poetry. They're all using the guitar as a narrative device, heavily informed by a century of experimentation.
But, if we are talking about the biggest shift in how the physical body interacts with the guitar today, we have to talk about the SNS, or social networking service generation.
The Instagram and YouTube virtuosos.
The ones you see scrolling through your phone.
Players like Ichika Nito or Yvette Young, their approach is staggering, and it's entirely dictated by the medium of the internet.
Right, because they aren't playing a 2-hour concert in a sweaty underground club. They're performing for a camera in a brightly lit bedroom, often in a 60-second vertical video clip.
And because that window of attention is so incredibly short, the density of musical ideas they pack into 60 seconds is just mind-boggling. They utilize a technique called two-handed tapping.
Well, they don't even strum, right?
Exactly. Instead of strumming with the right hand and holding chords with the left, both hands are essentially hammering down on the fretboard, playing the guitar as if it were a piano keyboard.
They are managing incredibly complex polyrhythms, like playing two contrasting rhythms at the exact same time while building these intricate harmonies, all flawlessly executed for the camera.
They have completely refreshed guitar technique for the digital age, but, it raises an interesting philosophical question about the whole recording device of the body concept.
So what does this all mean for the future? With the SNS generation like Ichika Nito using such extreme math-like precision and digital perfection, are we losing that raw physical blood and sweat of the 70s underground? Or is it just taking a new shape? Has the temper tantrum been replaced by a spreadsheet?
It definitely hasn't been replaced. It has just adapted to a new environment. I mean, the 70s underground was reacting to the physical constraints of their era. Their rebellion required immense volume and literal physical destruction. But the SNS generation is existing in an era of infinite digital noise and information overload.
So to stand out in a feed full of chaos, you don't make more chaos. You make hyper-calculated perfection.
Precisely. Their blood and sweat isn't in screaming into an amplifier until they pass out. It's in the intense, obsessive calculation. It's the hours and hours of repetitive practice and the flawless, almost superhuman execution required to play those complex polyrhythms perfectly in one single take.
It's just a completely different kind of extreme physicality.
It's mental gymnastics translated directly into finger gymnastics.
The anxiety of the digital age recorded directly through the hands, which honestly leads right into the beautiful synthesis that the MMR column arrives at in its concluding chapter.
It's a great conclusion.
It argues that as the vibrations of the strings echo across all these different eras, from Chuck Berry's blues clubs to Keiji Haino's noise underground to Ichika Nito's digital feeds, what truly matters, what actually endures, isn't the technical skill itself.
No, not at all. Technique is just the vehicle. What really matters is the temperature and the thought of the player.
Whether it's that driving rhythm making you dance, or an agonizing screech making you cover your ears, or, crystal clear tapping making your jaw drop, The metal string only matters because it is vibrating with the specific temperature of the human being holding it.
The guitar is, and always has been, a mirror.
It's not just waiting for someone to play a song.
No, it's waiting to absorb someone's entire physical and emotional existence and project it out into the room.
It is taking their pulse. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Before we let you go, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Something to think about.
If the electric guitar's evolution perfectly mirrors the psychological state of its era, from the bold outward rebellion of the 60s to the chaotic inward-looking noise of the 80s to the hyper-calculated, fragmented perfection of today's social media generation, what do the intensely complex, mathematical, and fleeting melodies of today's players say about the collective mind of our modern society?
Are we all just trying to pack as much meaning as possible into a 60-second window before the feed scrolls past? It's definitely a question worth asking the next time you put on your headphones.
Until next time, we highly encourage you to go find one of the artists we talked about today. Whether you want to stand inside the swirling weather system of My Bloody Valentine, or listen to the rusted metal grinder of the Japanese underground, or just watch the flawless finger gymnastics of Ichika Nito, listen to them with completely fresh ears. Listen for the temperature behind the strings. Take care.
Goodbye, and keep listening closely.